Hi! It's been such lovely weather that I've bought the table outside and I've laid it with lots of china. Well, I've got all of my mismatched china out, but I just wanted to check in and say hello before this vlog starts. There's a fly that wants to join me, but he wants to join me in my mouth, I think. And then there's a chainsaw in the woods, so this gorgeous, peaceful scene is no longer. Thank you so much for joining me over on my new Instagram account, Cherry Men Love Living. It's lovely. I'm really enjoying it. So if you're not over there, then it would be lovely to see you. Next week, all of the decorating and all of the transformation starts happening down at the bakery. So I'm sort of girding my loins for that a little bit. And I'm looking forward to taking you along. But I feel, as I'm sure many of you will relate to this, I have dropped so many balls or have not managed to juggle so many plates lately. As I'm older than I was, you know, when I was younger. Yeah, not making much sense. Just my energy levels. It's almost like I wish this was all happening like, 20 years ago. But then, one doesn't have hindsight or wisdom or any experience and all of that. So, but I hope you enjoy this vlog today. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a lot of being outside in the sun. Maybe all I needed was some vitamin D. Who knows? Yesterday morning, I got back from the school run and the sun was out in the way that it is right now. I mean, it's glorious. And I came out here to do something with the dog and I got a peek or something caught my eye at the bottom of the garden, and it was that sea of blue that just sort of shines out from the floor of the woodland. It sounds like I'm being overly poetic, but I'm not. The sea of blue is just extraordinary, and of course it comes from the bluebells that are now fully out, and it was really quiet actually, and sometimes there are dog walkers, but yesterday morning it was silent. There was no one in there, so I took my phone down there and filmed the bluebells, and I wondered if you'd like to come and see them. So there are two entrances down to the bluebell woods. There's that one there, which is the one that the deer just sort of break through the fence. And then there's another one. It's like this secret garden gate that I want to show you. There they are. Can you see them? Just poking through in the centre of the screen. So in the last week, I'm not kidding when I say that the entire world, certainly here in the English countryside, seems to have exploded. The grass, the weeds, the plants, the hedgerows, they have all gone absolutely bonkers. It's wonderful, but it does remind you that there comes a point in a year, especially when it warms up, when you suddenly run out of time and you are then trying to keep up. I'm also planting out. So all of those wonderful seeds that I started a few weeks ago, in the vlog a few weeks ago, they have now all germinated and I've got these incredible little seedlings. So they're all going to go out in the bed. But I'm also starting something else in my little garden here that I've got my no-dig beds in. Which is really sort of future planning, but something that I don't think will take very long. Certainly won't take very long to implement. And I don't think it will take very long for it to start looking quite wonderful. I'm excited to show you. A few weeks ago, or maybe when was it? 3 weeks ago? I'm not sure. You saw that I built this archway here as an entrance into this space. I made it in a morning. And I made it by hand, and it was really easy because willow is so brilliant to work with, the way you can bend it and twist it and work it into a shape. So I've got this, you can sort of see it there, that archway going across the entrance into this garden. But I needed something else just to make it even more special. My vocabulary isn't really working today. Even more special. So what could I possibly grow up and along and over a willow arch in an English cottage garden other than a rambling rose? This is the start of me building and growing and developing what's basically going to be an arbour. I'm sure it will morph and change, but you've got to start somewhere. So I'm starting at the base of the willow arch that I built, and I'm starting with a David Austin Rambler. So I've gone for the 𝗪𝗛𝗢𝗏 Rambler. It is, I guess, almost like a legacy Rambler at David Austin. It's a very, very well-known Rambler. Let me get the little label from it. So I've gone for a very pale pink with this Rambler. It grows up to about 12 feet. It's a repeat flowering from sort of June to September time. So I will deadhead, but they will come back again. And it has a light fragrance, so it's not super, super fragranced. I think that for this particular archway here, I'm much, much more interested in adding structure and adding interest and adding some colour. I'm not too worried about the fragrance. I would much prefer to find the fragrance in maybe the shrub roses, because then I can cut them and bring them into the cottage. Now, why am I using a rambler instead of a climbing rose to grow up and around? Well, I've grown lots of roses in my lifetime, and I have found that a climbing rose, look, you can use ramblers and climbers interchangeably to a certain extent, but I found that climbing roses are much, much better suited up and along a wall, or up and along the front or side, or even back of a house, depending on where the sun is. I find climbers you can almost manipulate them to be much, much more structured in the way they grow, to a certain extent again. But ramblers, I find them to be slightly more chaotic, a bit more sort of circular, not as structured, softer lines, and very, very reminiscent of cottage gardens. Certainly when it looks like they're grown over a garden gate. They ramble, whereas the others climb. I've grown rambling roses up trees before. I've grown them in amongst clematis, again, up and around trees. They're magnificent. I was going to go for one of the ramblers with the really, really tiny flowers, almost like the open-faced flowers. But I decided to go for, although these are fairly small, they're much, much more of a cup shape, almost like a miniature version of a regular rose. So let's plant it. So because of my deer problem, I have to obviously plant the rose inside the garden, the confines of the garden, so that I can sort of wall it off. So I'm going to put it here and train it up and around like that. So let's dig a hole. So I tend to start off by going in with a fork first, just to loosen the area. Certainly if I'm digging into grass, to loosen the area where I want to dig the hole. That's just my method. I then move on to a garden spade. So this patch here that I'm going to plant the rose in, I've gone around all the sides with the fork and I've just loosened it all up like this. I find that it just makes it a lot easier. It all sort of comes up in one go. Oh, look at that. There we are. Once you've dug your hole and you want to check that it's, you know, the right size, the right depth, just pop the pot in and you'll be able to tell. So this is about right actually, because you can't see it here, but you will be able to see it when I take it out of the pot. There's something called the bud union, which is sort of slightly self-explanatory. It's where all of the stems unite and then they go down to the roots. That point in the rose has to be about sort of 2 inches beneath the soil to protect the rose. So I think that knowing that, that is about right. I'm just going to, using a hand fork, just loosen up some of the soil on the bottom. The roots of the rose have to grow down into the soil, so we don't want to make it harder for those roots than it already will be. So that is organic compost. I'm going to now wet that. I'm now going to remove the rose from this pot. It's quite important to just take it easy, really. So I tend to squeeze the pot just to loosen it. You do need to tip it so when it's lying down, because if it's going to on a flat surface, and then I just sort of pull. Oh, look, and it's coming. There we are. Can you see? That's it. And then straight in. If you look at the roses, when they're in the pot, you can kind of see how you want it to look when it's in the ground. And this is the right way round. If I was to turn it round, it wouldn't quite look as good. I think I'm being slightly pedantic, but if you're doing this yourself, you'll know what I mean. If you can, I think that now is a good time, when you know it's in place, just to check on the roots and just to make sure that they're sort of loose and they're not too packed in. You want to give them the best chance possible, just to get their roots in and to start growing. They're all pretty loose. I'm not going to interfere too much, to be honest. I don't want to tempt fate. So that's in there in a nice position. I'm now going to, and I've filled this with the soil that was in the ground already, and it's been mixed with, again, some really rich organic compost. I'm now going to water this in very, very well. And as the season goes on, I will of course tell you how I'm feeding them and deadheading them. So, gosh, this is lovely. So I thought it might be a good time to show you the progress, or lack thereof, that I'm making in this little garden with my no-dig beds. There have been some challenges, I'll be clear. So when I made this little garden, it was with the intention to keep the deer out. We have a deer issue in as much as I live opposite a deer park, which is the issue. And so the deer come into the garden. This is fine. They're going to come in. Like I said, I live opposite a deer park, and in actual fact, it's not the deer from the park, it's other deer. It's, I live in the countryside. It is what it is. So I cordoned off this area so that the deer wouldn't get in and eat the plants. What I didn't know is that moles would come from underneath and try and ruin the garden that way. I don't think it's hyperbolic to say I'm being attacked from all sides. Oh, let me show you. This is the edge of one of my no-dig beds. Got a little plane going overhead. See if we can get it. Yeah, there it is. And as you can see, the moles have sort of come up and under and lifted the cardboard. Look at that. There's a clearer one. Look at this. Look at this. But they've also dug straight up and in. And in the case of this bed, they lifted my sweet peas that were meant to be growing up these canes here. So I'm actually going to put some more sweet peas in. I bought a couple of pots just from the supermarket actually, and they looked really healthy and big. So I'm going to put some sweet peas in amongst these ones that have been dug up, just to give them an extra chance. So if the moly ones don't make it, then the other ones will. But I do have some good news. There is some good news. And that's that my stocks are doing well. Look at these little babies. I love stocks, and the great thing about stocks is that if you cut them, they keep on coming. So I'm going to cut those flowers now. First flowers from the garden this year, I think, that I've planted. I mean, these weren't from seed, but it was a little plant. Anyway, so I'm going to cut them now and bring them inside, and I love the smell, and I love the shape, and they will, of course, keep on coming.